Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by thebigfouraccountingfirms.com. Check out our blog and subscribe to our podcast for career advice, recruiting secrets, and the latest Big Four news. Hope you enjoy the show.
In today's podcast, we're going to be going over yet another scandal. And this time, it involves KPMG South Africa once again. It involves their client called VBS Mutual Bank. Now, VBS Mutual Bank has gone into curatorship in South Africa. It is suspected that there were fraudulent reporting and transactions as a part of this new scandal. And VBS Bank could not account for 1 billion rand, which is the South African currency. And VBS Bank was also thought to be involved in the recent Gupta scandal in South Africa that has tarnished KPMG's reputation. Additionally, the Federal Reserve Bank of South Africa has launched a full investigation into how VBS Bank went into curatorship. And the main problem involving the Big Four here is that VBS Bank is a client of KPMG. And this is yet another scandal that KPMG has to deal with in South Africa. KPMG has signed off on the financials of VBS Bank for the past several years without raising any concerns. And KPMG has already lost tons of clients in South Africa. And now there is another huge scandal. There are many officials calling for KPMG to be banned from auditing in South Africa. And as a result of all this controversy, KPMG suspended the lead partner on the audit engagement, but these partners subsequently resigned. And the partners that resigned are thought to have resigned because they had personal financial interests in VBS Bank that were not disclosed. And one of the partners was the lead of KPMG South Africa's largest business unit, which was their financial services audit branch. KPMG is also going to launch an independent review of all the work performed in South Africa for the past 18 months. And that is huge news. To review the audit work of a whole region for 18 months is a significant investment of time. And KPMG will also strengthen a whistleblowing program to prevent this from happening in the future. So those are the facts, and that is the background of the case. But how could something like this happen? What is our analysis? To me, this is crazy that KPMG can have yet another huge scandal in South Africa, especially after the Gupta scandal. KPMG has already lost so many clients after that scandal that you would have thought they would look into their files after that, but they're barely doing it now. And I think this latest scandal happened because of a lack of leadership. It seems that KPMG South Africa operated independently of the global firm and did not have the same values and ethics of the KPMG global firm. How could you possibly have one of your most important senior partners in South Africa have an independence issue? How could he possibly have a financial interest in an audit client when he is basically the lead auditor of KPMG South Africa? He should know better. What that shows me is he has no fears. He had no fear of being caught, and he most likely would not have been caught if VBS Bank never went under. But I do think KPMG is taking the right steps by pulling all of their old audit files off the shelf and giving them a second look. The problem is, I think it might be too little too late for KPMG South Africa. I think the damage is done, and I think KPMG might have to look into closing this office down soon. They've already lost a lot of big clients in the region, which means they've lost a lot of revenue. And now they're going to be incurring more expenses, as they're going to be spending more money to investigate their own work. If this investigation that they're conducting shows that there were other scandals or other independence violations, it might be KPMG that's going into curatorship in South Africa next. So what does this mean for all of you Big Four accountants out there? Again, similar to what we said last week when we spoke about the PwC scandals, you should be bringing up your integrity when you speak to Big Four professionals in the recruiting process. You can also mention how you have attention to detail. The Big Four are going to want candidates who have high integrity, ethics, and attention to detail after all these scandals. They aren't going to want people that just clock in and clock out and go with the flow. It's the people that go with the flow that let these type of scandals happen. And if you already work at the Big Four, you need to be more diligent during your audit planning process to make sure that your team can catch issues like this. Additionally, you should also be prepared for additional training. The Big Four will no doubt have more mandatory training around ethics and integrity. Global audits at the Big Four will also likely receive more scrutiny. For example, if you work in the US or the UK and you rely on South Africa or other Big Four member offices, that member office work will receive more scrutiny when it gets quality reviewed internally and externally by the PCAOB or the FRC. After scandals like this, the only thing that follows is more regulation and more training. The work that comes from that regulation and training always rolls downhill, unfortunately. It should mean more work and more training for the leaders of these firms, but it never does. For all of you that have to perform that additional work and additional training that results from this, I'm sorry. Thanks for listening.
If you need help and guidance through your Big Four recruiting process, make sure to check out our links to our books and courses in the show notes below. For additional Big Four career insights, tips, and tactics, visit our Patreon page, whereas for as little as $1, you could start receiving unique guides and checklists to help you throughout your career. Support us by not only donating to our Patreon page, but also by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player today.